Happy Monday! Today we are going to talk all about how to start a LinkedIn live show. We're getting a little bit meta because this actually is a LinkedIn live show that you're watching. So, more on that in a minute. How was your weekend? We just finished up the bonus workshop inside of the LinkedIn Accelerator program. We talked about how to grow your email list with your connections. It was really fun. We had one of the most awesome groups ever in the LinkedIn Accelerator. I really, really enjoyed this cohort. Of course, all of them have been awesome, but this one was extra special. I think just with the time of year, the energy people brought in, we had a really good mix of job seekers, people with 9 to 5s, and side businesses. It was just a really, really fun group. So if you participated, thank you so much. It was a blast, and I look forward to continuing to have more LinkedIn Accelerator cohorts over the next year. So now it is time for Mondays with Mindy. This is a weekly show on, you guessed it, Mondays, where I talk about all things LinkedIn pipeline, profiles, and promo, what I call the 3 Ps of LinkedIn. So do you have questions about LinkedIn that you want me to answer? Be sure to like this post, whether you're live, watching from the replay. Leave your questions below because I will actually answer them in a future live stream, or if it's a short question, I'll answer it directly in the comments below after the episode. So, for those who don't know me, my name is Mindy Rosser. I'm the founder of Mindy Rosser Marketing. And like I mentioned, I have a program called the LinkedIn Accelerator for those who want to go from 0 to 60 on LinkedIn with their profile and their network. I help superstars who feel they are the best kept secret in their industry to become that go to visible expert in their niche so they can get that next opportunity, grow their business, and scale their impact. In this live, we are going to talk about how to set up your LinkedIn live show. So, like I said, we're getting a little bit meta. So, it's going to be very engaging. This is the first of a 3 part series. I've never done that on Mondays with Mindy, but many of you have been asking, Mindy, I really want to start a live show. How do I go about doing this? I'm not very techy. So, I decided to create slides. Like, this is going to be a whole workshop status, and we're going to do this for the next 3 weeks. So, if you are curious about starting a LinkedIn live show, today we're going to get into the beginning of it. And over the next 3 weeks, total of 3 weeks, we will be covering all of the elements that you will need to set up your live show. This also gives you the opportunity to put this into practice. So if you're like, Mindy, I actually want to do something with it, you will have some action items for each week to actually get your LinkedIn live show going in the next 3 to 4 weeks. All right, so let me share my screen here. All right, so you should be able to see me. This is how to create an engaging LinkedIn live show. So I'm going to take that banner off the bottom. I think that looks funny. Okay, here we go. So in today's live, I'm going to walk you through how to start your own engaging LinkedIn live show because it's all about going from the best kept secret in your industry to really becoming that sought after visible expert in your niche. And that's going to be using live stream content. So if you've ever wanted to use live stream content and we're like, I don't know where to start, I'm not sure how to do it, it seems complicated, do I have to be techie? I am one of the least techie people. I know nothing about like all the tech stuff, but I managed to figure it out. So I'm going to share a very simple way to actually go about starting your LinkedIn live show so you can do it with confidence and not have to master a bunch of tech. There's a little bit of tech involved, but it's not that crazy. All right. So the first thing you're going to want to remember is you are going to get ready to stream. That's what we're focusing on here. So it's all about live streaming, the power of live streaming, and connecting with your audience. Keep in mind that I love live streaming. I've been doing it for almost 2 years now, every single week. I don't miss a week. Every so often I will do a rebroadcast, but for the most part they're all fresh. And the nice thing about live stream content is that you are always top of mind. When you establish a cadence, when you are constantly showing up, especially if you are working from home or working remotely and maybe you are not always in person with your clients, it keeps you top of mind. It lets people know that have been thinking about working with you that you are still doing what you are doing. So it's really, really powerful, and it's more engaging even than a podcast. I think podcasts are awesome. I have one too. But I feel like the live stream is a little bit extra special and really helps me connect with my audience in a unique way. So here's where we're going today. First, we're going to talk about setting your intention. So, why do you want to start a live stream show? Like, well, why is that so important? How do you actually get going? You want to make sure you're on the right path before you start. All right, then we will talk about choosing your content. So, where is this content actually coming from? Do you have to start everything from scratch? Is it really complicated? How are you going to come up with topic ideas? Can you repurpose content? What does that look like? Then we'll get into creating your live show. So, what are the nuts and bolts? Like, how do you actually start a live show on LinkedIn? What does that look like? Then we'll talk about doing your first LinkedIn Live. And then we get into reviewing your analytics. This is when we get into next week's content and week three's content, where you really are going to start learning how to refine your live show. What do you do to know what's working? Which numbers are you looking at? And then live Q&A. If you want to put questions in the chat while I'm talking, I will review them at the end. So at the end of each of the live streams in this series, I will make sure to go back through the comments and answer your questions. Feel free to skip ahead. Like if you have questions and I didn't cover it and you're like, Mindy, I'm not sure if you're going to cover this in the next one, but here's my question. Go ahead and leave it in the comments below. So today, what is your intention? Why do you want to start a LinkedIn live show? Because for me, it's all about engaging my viewers. Now you can see this live stream was in a different studio. I now have like this whole soundproofing, which I really, really like. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Like if you are looking at that background right there, I will let you know that was actually inside of my bedroom. I lived in Hawaii at the time and I did not have space for a beautiful studio. So what did I do? I actually just turn my desk around. In the back, like half of that is like a sliding door that opens to the outdoors. So that mango tree, I use that mango tree a lot in my presentations. I did that intentionally because I wanted people to connect with where I was. And I also wanted to incorporate my background into my show. You'll also see there's a surfboard. You can't really see it in that image, but it is a surfboard that is in my background. I talked a lot about surfing at that time. That was a way to connect with people. Do I still surf? Not as often as I'd like at the moment, but that's because it's really cold and I need to get a thicker wetsuit. So I don't have that in my background currently, but at the time, that was a talking point, and I use that a lot in my live streams. So think about your background. If you want it to be like less distracting, that's what I have right now. I actually just have soundproofing all the way around my space, and I have a lot more lights than I used to have. And I like it better that way because I feel like we can focus more on the content. It's not about what's happening in my background. Is there a chicken back there? Is that a mango falling? So just adapt to what you have presently. It does not have to be perfect to get started. Keep in mind, it's about your intention. Why are you starting this? Ideally, it's to engage with your viewers, to engage with your audience, to go deeper, to start conversations. So LinkedIn Live videos, this stat is actually straight up from LinkedIn. LinkedIn Live videos get on average 7 times more reactions, 24 times more comments. That's a lot. So for those of you who are looking to spark engagement on LinkedIn, you may want to consider LinkedIn Live videos because you will get a lot more comments. Also, if you will notice, the live streams that actually go longer perform a lot better. It gives more people time to jump in, and they're not too short. Like if I was cutting my live stream off right at this very minute, a lot of people would miss the bulk of my content because I'd already be done and it would be very short. So live streams are meant to be a little bit longer form than like a short video that is, meant to get people's attention in that moment and then click away. Live streams are there where you're going deeper. So this is really good for teaching content, for thought leadership content, for getting people to think, sharing perspectives, interviewing guests, and that's why it gets so much more engagement. So first, before you get started, you want to get clarity on what you want your live show to do for you before you actually start. Some people kind of put the cart before the horse and they just kind of start live streaming. They don't know why they're doing it, and that can be problematic. So you really want to think about, okay, why am I doing this live stream thing? Like, what is the point of it? Because if you don't know why you're doing it, you're likely going to fall off the wagon at some point when it gets hard, because live streaming every single week is very, very difficult. I will say that. I couldn't say that at the beginning because I hadn't spent enough time here, but I actually relocated and there were about 4 weeks in there that I did not have access to any type of recording studio. So what did I have to do? I had to pre-record. I literally had to pre-record 6 episodes that dropped every single week and plan them all out and get them done so I didn't miss a week because I didn't want to just rebroadcast content during that time. Was that easy? No, but it's because I am committed to showing up for my audience every single week. So for me, it's about Mindy is always here. Mindy always has something to share. It's always about LinkedIn. It's always related to the topic. It's inspirational. It's fun. It's on Mondays, So have fun, but be very, very clear on what you want your show to do for you. So choose your content. What type of content are you going to use for your live stream? This can be tricky because you're like, Mindy, I don't have any. I've never done a live stream. I have no idea what to say. So don't be worried. At the end of the series, I'm actually going to share a special PDF download that you will have that will actually help you flesh out your content and put together your live show. Okay. So just stay tuned. It will be available soon. I want to put some finishing touches on it before I release it, but know that it is coming. So right now, I just want you to think about what type of content you could use. So when it comes to LinkedIn content, you want it to be engaging. You want it to be professional. You want it to be actionable. These are three different things when you are thinking about content, what actually works well. First of all, obviously, you want to get people's attention. Engaging, it has to be interesting. If you're just sitting here talking very monotone and you're not quite sure what you're going to say, or you appear too nervous, people are just going to like click off. You're like, oh no, it's a little bit weird. So you have to get out of yourself, use your hand gestures, get a little bit animated, practice. Sometimes even just doing a little bit of a practice run to get comfortable in front of the screen is important. You also want it to feel professional. This is not where you are just, sitting on Instagram talking to your friends. This is where you are having professional discussions. So do keep it professional. It should not be too casual. You also want it to be actionable. So what are people going to do after they watch your content? Maybe it's not a direct action item, but you're going to get them to think. So at least get them to think. You're trying to get their brain whirring and going, I never thought about it that way. Maybe I'm going to try that. Or maybe there is an action item to every single live show. Think about what it's going to be for your audience and what would make the most sense for them. So where do you look? Where do you find content? You can look at your blog. So if you have a blog, for those of you who have created content over time, look at your blog. Because guess what? That is a gold mine. A gold mine, something like that. It is a gold mine for content that you can actually pull and repurpose. So for those of you who are really good writers, you could actually take your blog and kind of structure it into a live stream format and just use that same content. If you have a podcast, live streams, you can actually repurpose that content for your live stream. A lot of times that medium works quite well. If you actually recorded episodes, maybe you have a YouTube channel, then guess what? You could actually just say that exact same content live and in a live format, asking people questions. So you can be very, very creative with where you are pulling this content. You don't have to create it from scratch, especially if you put a lot of thought into your content strategy. Then you see that little email icon. If you have an email newsletter and you share great content there, you could actually pull that content and turn that into a live stream as well. So think outside the box. This is not about creating something brand new that you've never done before and you have no idea. You have to create all fresh topics. You don't. You actually probably have a lot of this content, especially if you already are a content creator. So start with topics you already have: your blog, podcast, website, archives of articles or posts. If you have written a book or you've done some writing, pull that. If you've written for magazines or other online spots on the web, pull that. You can also use your email newsletter. So again, be creative here. Use content you already have. Another good idea is also to think about the questions that people ask you. I get DM'd a lot, so I will actually take screenshots of DMs that people send me, and I will use that as fodder for my content ideas. And I will answer their questions in a live stream. So you could also, if you want to have a show where you are interviewing a guest, you can brainstorm guests that you'd like to have on your show. These could be industry peers or colleagues. They could be other influencers in your space. They could be people completely outside your niche that would provide a fresh perspective. You could also have other LinkedIn Live or podcast hosts or YouTubers on your LinkedIn Live show. You could do collabs. I think that's what my daughter calls them, collabs, where you're collaborating with other people that are also live streamers. So be creative here and think about people that you would like to have on your show. So building your live show with your favorite content types. What does that actually look like? You're like, Mindy, but okay, all that stuff you said was great, but I actually don't have any relevant topics. I don't know who I could have as a guest. I really don't have a good place to start. Okay, so if you're in that camp where you're like, Mindy, I'm starting fresh, I'm starting from scratch, then you are either going to, one, create new content, Or two, invite your dream guests. So there's two ways to go about starting your show. So if you're going to go the create your content route, new content, you want to brainstorm 10 to 12 topics or ideas that you could discuss in your LinkedIn live show based on questions you get asked. Do not start your live show without having at least 10 to 12 topics brainstormed. They don't have to be fleshed out, they don't have to be scripted, but you don't want to start a show and then feel like every single week you're trying to come up with a topic. You are going to get stressed, especially at the beginning. Down the road, you may be able to get away with it, but as you are getting started, make sure you have 10 to 12 topics you feel confident talking about. Now, if you're going to go the invite your dream guest route, you want to make a list. So, again, similar process 10 to 12 people that you'd like to have on your show that could speak to topics of interest to your audience. This is a really good way to do it, especially if you're a decent interviewer or you like having conversations. Basically, if you can ask them 6 to 10 to 12 questions on a show, boom, you have a show. And they're doing the talking. All you have to do is kind of like sit there and nod your head, follow up, ask questions. So think about your style, think about what works for you. I very rarely have guests on my Mondays with Mindy. I prefer doing the content and really focusing on like teaching and inspiring and sharing tips and tricks. Other people are really great interviewers, and I just love their shows because they just bring on the most interesting people and ask them questions you would never think to ask. So think about your areas of strengths and weaknesses and then go according to that. So content is not hard. It's not that hard. We make it super hard. It is not that hard to create or share. Again, I like to say KISS. That's not kiss kiss, but that is keep it simple, smarty pants. So, what you are doing here with your content is you are answering questions that your audience tends to ask you a lot. That's it. If you really want to keep it simple, then take screenshots of questions that people are asking you and answer those on your live show. That can work really well. And it can be a kind of fun too if you treat it like, okay, I'm going to pull a question from the mailbag and you're going to answer that question and expound on it. Go down all the rabbit trails. Have fun going deep with the topics you explore. So it doesn't have to be hard. Okay. It does not have to be hard. All right. So do not rebroadcast old videos. This is very, very important for those of you who have YouTube content or podcast content or old content. This live stream needs to feel fresh. So, for example, this slide deck that I'm showing you, I created about a year ago when I was teaching this very same topic to people inside of my membership. I readjusted the slides and I am recording it fresh, like I'm doing this in real time because I don't want it to feel old. Like my hair looked different, I had a different background. I'm not going to rebroadcast old content on a live stream. Now, if you do a rebroadcast, I do those very rarely, but periodically I will. You want to make sure that you let people know this is a rebroadcast. Make sure you put that in the text. Make sure people know, because if you hide that, it's going to feel inauthentic. Live streams are supposed to feel pretty much real time. Now, does that mean I never pre-record live streams? No, I pre-record them a lot, especially if I am busy on that Monday morning and I know that I'm not going to be able to show up as my best self. A lot of times I will pre-record it, but it is like a week or so before I'm going to go live. So I look pretty similar. Sometimes even this is a little insider trick. If you're going to pre-record and you are going to have calls later that day, you can even wear the same outfit and do like the same stuff with your hair for those of you who are females. And that also looks really good. And it's like you're being cognizant of the fact that you are pre-recording, but you are still doing this in real time and you are being authentic about it. Does that make sense? You see the difference? We're not just like recycling things and just kind of blah it onto our live stream. Our live stream should be approached as if it is live. Even if it can't be live, it should be close enough to being live. Okay. So do you see the difference there? So you want to repurpose any podcast scripts or blog articles. You can repurpose that content, but just deliver it live or deliver it almost live, in a pre-recorded broadcast that is somewhat live. And then what you'll want to do is follow up very quickly after your live stream in the comments. So if you are not able to make it there live for any reason, make sure you are still available right after your live stream to follow up. That shows that you care. And it also shows that you are making time to be present with your audience. So how do you actually create a live show? All right. So first of all, you got to turn on creator mode. So if you don't know what creator mode is, go to your profile. You're going to scroll down. It's going to say resources, creator mode. If it says off and it's gray, you need to turn it on. So you have to have at least 150 connections or followers to turn this on. And You also want to be sharing content to LinkedIn because if you haven't shared any content to LinkedIn and you turn on creator mode, you may not immediately have LinkedIn Live. Sometimes you will and sometimes you won't. So just make sure that you are sharing at least, you know, a little bit of content to LinkedIn before you turn it on live. So what does that look like? Maybe share 3 to 4 posts before you turn on creator mode. Okay. And then remember, don't break LinkedIn's rules ever. Because if you break LinkedIn's rules, they can take away your profile, first of all, and they could also slap your hand and not give you LinkedIn Live. So if you are known to be a rule breaker on LinkedIn and you've had your account restricted multiple times, just be thoughtful. It may be trickier for you to turn on creator mode. Most of you are not in that camp if you have not spammed people or used automation or any tools that are prohibited by LinkedIn. But just keep in mind, moving forward, don't break any LinkedIn rules, especially if you want to keep your live privileges. So you will get notified when you get access to LinkedIn Live, and also you'll get access to the newsletter feature too. We're not talking about the newsletter in this topic, but we are just focused on the live. But just keep in mind, creator mode is related to getting the LinkedIn newsletter feature too. So while you're waiting, be sure to set up all your live show pieces. We're not going to talk about all those today. We're actually going to get into the nitty gritty technical stuff next week. But keep in mind, you may have to wait a little bit. Just check here, like where you see Creator Hub, you can see LinkedIn Live, and mine says available with that little check mark. If you see available right away, great, you have access. If you have to wait a few days or a week, it's usually what it takes for some people. Just be patient while LinkedIn is turning on LinkedIn Live and start getting everything set up. Plan your content, start mapping out your guests, all of that good stuff so you are ready to go when it is available. All right, so how do you tell if you have LinkedIn Live available? So you can see the screenshot here. If you are curious and you don't see it available there, what you can also do is you can also just start to create an event, a LinkedIn event. And then you will see under event format where it says LinkedIn Live, if you see LinkedIn Live there, you have LinkedIn Live. So that's just another way to tell if you have LinkedIn Live available. So let's actually jump onto LinkedIn so you can actually see where the live show goes. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing this one and I'm going to share this one. All right. So now we are on my LinkedIn Live or LinkedIn profile here. So let's go to creator mode. So this is where creator mode is. This is where you need to make sure you turn it on. If you ever turn it on, don't turn it off willy-nilly because you want to make sure that you are keeping your LinkedIn Live privileges and your newsletter. So once you toggle it on, just commit to keeping it on unless for some reason you are deciding never to do LinkedIn Live or newsletters again. Okay. All right. So once you come down here, you'll see all of my lives. I tend to put them in the featured section. Why do I do this? Because it gives it a little bit more visibility. So you can see that there are lives in this section. You can see some that have more comments than others. People can watch some of my LinkedIn lives here as well. You'll see here that this one is a live that is scheduled for Monday at 11 a.m. All right, so you can see, oh, okay, there's one that is coming up. As you are watching this, this is actually a pre-recorded live. So this live has actually not gone live yet. So that's also very interesting. It's kind of like this funny thing with LinkedIn Lives. I like them to be live when possible, but I am pre-recording this live and it is recorded in pretty much real time, close enough to real time, but it's about a week in advance. Okay. All right, so you can kind of scroll on down here and you can see all of the activity. And we're not going to go any further, but you can actually pay attention to creating a LinkedIn Live and really think about where you wanted to show up on your profile. I would recommend putting all of your lives, especially if you are doing, we'll talk about this next week, but if you're going to do a promo post where you are actually going to share a LinkedIn Live in advance, then I would recommend throwing that into your featured section so people know when you're going to go live, especially at the beginning, because people aren't going to expect your live to happen at the same time every week until you actually start doing it. All right, so I am going to remove that there. And that is going to conclude where we're going to stop today. So if you want to take this as an action item, what you should do next is start brainstorming 10 to 12 ideas or topics or people if you want to have guests for your podcast. Next week, we are going to talk about how to actually set up your live stream show. So, what tech do you need? What are the 7 steps to setting up your LinkedIn live show? What does that look like? What things do you need to start pulling together? Do you need special equipment? Do you need a microphone? Do you need some lights? Do you need a background? How do you actually start setting all of that up? And then in week 3, we're going to talk about how to experiment with your live show moving forward. So, what can you actually do in advance as you are getting ready to go live? And then over time, how do you make your live show look awesome and perform better? How do you engage more people? How do you scale it? Which numbers should you be paying attention to? So, we have a lot of fun in store when it comes to LinkedIn Lives. Feel free to leave any of your questions below this, and I will also be posting a link to a PDF where you can actually start your LinkedIn Live show. So, look below this video, and there will be a link to download that PDF. So, if you want to get started, you want to get a jump on setting up your live show, that handout will be really, really helpful. It's a really great checklist to help you start figuring out what to do, how to set it up, where to put your ideas, all of that good stuff. So I will see you all next week in the next episode where we will talk about the nitty gritty technical stuff to setting up a LinkedIn live show. If you have any questions, you can DM me too if you don't want to share it publicly. And I am happy to answer any questions that you have in the comments below. All right, I will see you all then. Bye for